no petition, we move to motions of urgent public importance. Honorable Ben Ibakwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Honorable Ben Roland Ibakwa. I represent Ethiopia East, Ethiopia West. By the special grace of God, we are from Delta State. Mr. Speaker, I come under Order 8, Rule 4 of our standing orders to bring in a matter of urgent public importance of the need for PTDF and other government agencies to suspend the national identity card number as a precondition for scholarship and related matters. It is quite urgent as the PTDF is presently advertising for scholarship for our students, our young ones. We just listened to somebody spoke about human capital development, and we cannot punish our teeming youth because of the negligence of government. In line with that, Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend the relevant rules to allow me bring it now as a matter of urgent public importance.
Thank you. Before we second the motion, for the benefit of Southeast Law students in the gallery, a motion of urgent public importance is under our rules. A motion that is taken by any member where an issue that is so important that cannot be delayed is taken either the next day or the floor of the House, and that is what has just been moved by Honorable Ben Ibakwa. Any seconder? Let us allow Honorable Ben Kalu, there's so many hands on, to revel in the glory of today. Honorable Ben Kalu, you can second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honorable colleagues. My name is Benjamin Okezie Kalu. I represent the good people of Nigeria. Starting from Ben, the federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm from Abia State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my colleague and friend and namesake. I so second.
It just actually occurred to me that the students of the Southeast Law School are actually from your zone, from the Southeast. They're waving at you. Yes, your representative from your zone just seconded the motion of urgent public importance. His name is Ben Kalu. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My ever cooperative colleagues, the House notes that the Petroleum Technology Development Fund, PTDF, has announced, as can be verified from the online portal, that applicants for 2020 scholarship for master's and PhD degree must have a national identity card number before applying for the scholarship. That applicants are also expected to verify their name before starting the application. Concerned that name precondition for the scholarship is now a major stumbling block to otherwise eligible applicants who are yet to obtain their name. Worried that most Nigerians are yet to obtain the name due to no fault of theirs, and therefore it will be unconscionable to visit the scenes of the National Identity Card Management Commission on innocent Nigerians of applicants, as this is a failure on the part of government. Cognizant that the registration process of NIM is indeed very laborious and slow nationwide due to the inadequate facilities and manpower, that the DG of the NIMS, Mr. Aliyu Aziz, has recently admitted in the National Daily that they are overwhelmed with the work because, whereas they need about 4,000 centers.
Honorable Mansour, please approach the chair.
They make do with only 1,000 centers at the moment. Aware that the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, recently suspended the use of NIMS as requirement for the 2020 UTME due to technical hitches at NIM. Further worried that the same hitches that greeted JAMB over the NIM are likely to compromise the PTDF scholarship program for this 2020 if nothing is urgently done to reverse the decision by the management of PTDF. Note further that while it is important to have a national data capture in lieu of NIM, especially for purpose of security, it must be done in a manner that it does not impinge on equally very important national exercise like the PTDF scholarship and JAM. Observe that whereas it doesn't take more than 2 weeks to obtain a social security number in the USA, same feat can be replicated in Nigeria with the proper amount of funding as well as the right deployment of technology. The House hereby resolve, Mr. Speaker, and direct the management of PDDF, indeed all government agencies, to suspend forthwith the requirement of NIM as a precondition to access or enjoy any government program, project or patronage until further notice. To direct all government agencies to provide at least 1 year moratorium for Nigerians who have not obtained NIM to do so. In the interim, other forms of government identity such as international passport, voter's card, bank verification number could be used in lieu of NIM pending when the NIM is finally obtained. 3, that the federal government be urged to properly fund and equip NIM for speedy and efficient nationwide delivery. I beg to move, Mr. Speaker.
Deputy Chief Whip, Kiruka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Kiruka Onyegeorge. I represent the good people of Isukwatu Mulu Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. I rise to second the motion assembly moved by my honorable colleague. I so second.
Honorable Ben, 2 minutes, just round up.
Mr. Speaker, fellow honorable colleagues, this motion is about trying to save our manpower. The human capital development is one effort of government that should not be toyed with. Nigerians today were grappling with unemployment, and when there's any opportunity to provide for our teeming youth extra knowledge, the NIM issue is beginning to be a problem. Not too long ago, the JAM brought NIM as a precondition, and at the end of the day, it did not work. PTDF is coming up with it again, and I think this is an ugly trend that should not be supported. Because if you go to the United States of America, in less than 2 weeks, you get your social security number. If you are in the UK, in less than 2 weeks, you get your national ID card. And again, we have other forms of ID card. And I believe, in America, the biggest form of identity that you can carry around is even your driver's license. You don't need your passport. There are passport office in Nigeria. There are people who have driver's licenses. We have voters card. We have BVN. And all this information and data that they are collecting is a failure on the part of government to put in a central mechanism where this information sharing should work. And that should not be a problem for our youth who does not know anything. The father cannot commit a sin and vet the same sin on the son who knows nothing about it. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, our youth should be allowed to live their life while we plan adequately. It is a good thing. We understand not too long ago, the United States of America placed a travel and a visa ban on Nigeria because of security and data collection. But if we have to do that, if we have to look at it, we are collecting data. What are we really doing with the data that we've been collecting? We have to, first of all, give our teeming youth the opportunity to rise while we work on all these things. So that is why I brought this motion, so that this thing should not be a precondition for now. We should put a time frame with which the people that have not gotten this name should get it. We agree we have to put on a central information system. We agree that our security should be enhanced. We agree that we should know who we are dealing with. But to stagnate the nation and our growing youth because of name, I think it's an aberration that this house should speak against. Because we've always done it as a house that speaks for the masses, and I want us to join our voice in this one to ensure that our children are not deprived because of the failure of government. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ben, what are your prayers, or what's your prayer?
Mr. Speaker, one of the prayers is that the PTDF and other government agencies should henceforth not use that for now as a precondition. that if you don't have name, you should not apply for scholarship. You don't have name, you cannot write JAM. You don't have name, you cannot write WAEC. That is one. Then two is to direct government to provide at least 1 year so that people can get more, giving the government time to provide funds and equipment for NIM to actually take us. So you can go there and get registered, not go in there for a whole day and only 10 persons are registered. And at the end of the day, you're putting as a precondition. Then finally, that the government should make provision for adequate funding and equipment for the office.
Okay, I think your neighbor wants to support you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I'm a Baba.
I was looking for you earlier before we adopted the votes and proceedings.
And I was happy that I'm not here, sir, because I should not be part of the condition for votes and proceedings approval, sir.
Go ahead.
Honorable colleagues, Amejaha is my name, and I represent Chibok, Dambua, Goza, Federal Constituency, including the remaining not yet recovered Chibok girls. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion ably moved by my brother, who usually brings up matter of urgent public importance that has to do with the common man. Mr. Speaker, I have been saying it in the past, and I want to re-emphasize today that the issue of national ID card should not be a pre-qualification or prerequisite for somebody to obtain something in Nigeria. Because if you can contact the office in question, substantial part of Nigerians have not gotten one, and there was no mechanisms on ground to provide to all Nigerians, particularly with respect to lack of proper funding. Another thing I emphasize on this floor of the House, that it should not be a requirement for any security agent to identify an individual before admitting him or her. Because if we are going to do a critical analysis of the processes involved in obtaining national ID card, the simple thing is for you to get indigent letter of a local government is part of the requirement, which I said it is very porous. Anybody can go, whether you are a criminal or not. You can go to local government. It's your right for you to be given that particular indigent letter. And on the presentation of such indigent letter, you realize that you are admitted to be provided with the NIM number. Another thing, Mr. Speaker, I said and I will repeat it. One of the problems we have in this country is the porous nature of our border. If you go to my constituency, particularly in the state headquarters, you have National ID Card Registration Center, which is more or less the coordinating unit of the state. As I can see, because my community is bordering Cameroon Republic, if I'm staying in my grandfather's house, I'm seeing light in Cameroon Republic, but that does not mean I'm a foreigner. But many people have been coming to Nigeria to obtain national ID card, because to them it's going to be a future requirement for somebody to be an indigent of this country by national identification only. Another thing, we are fast approaching Ramadan season and Hajj season. I know what my constituents faced when they were planning to go to Jerusalem, because substantial part of my constituents in Chibok are Christians. In Goza, I have more than 25% that are Christians, and they wanted to go to Jerusalem, but most of them could not make it because they don't have ID card. And part of the requirement for you to have international passport is for you to have national identification. So we went even to the extent of consoling them that they should exercise patience. This is a national policy. We may be thinking or talking about it in the parliament. Maybe it's going to be relaxed or be suspended by relevant agencies, so that by next year or by the next pilgrimage they can as well go. We are fast approaching Ramadan season. People will be planning to go to to Umrah, and one of the requirements for you to travel is to have a travel document like international passport. And on the international passport, you realize that NIM number is part of the requirement. So this shows if you don't have national ID card, simply because you don't have a national ID card that has not been provided by the relevant agency, you are not traveling to either lesser Hajj or the main Hajj. So this is part of it. Another thing, with regards to some registration like WAEC, JAM, and so on, so they want to introduce this thing. And their thinking is this thing is free. So if this thing is free, have you provided level playing ground for people to obtain this? So sir, as far as I'm concerned, I'm supporting this motion in totality, and I want and urge my colleagues to equally support the motion so that we can relieve Nigerians from these hurdles of traveling and other things. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Kiruka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Kiruka George. I represent the good people of Isukwatu Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I support this motion, but I am just worried that last few months, JAM had to suspend the criteria for compulsory inclusion of national ID card for people who are supposed to register for JAM. And now PTDF is having the same issue. So the question is, for how long do we continue to suspend a requirement that we also are supposed to have? I went to renew my passport and they say I can't unless I bring my national ID card identification number or something. So what it simply means is that we have gone beyond where we just sit down and be suspending and suspending. So I'm calling that, in supporting this motion, we should investigate why up till today as we sit down here, that people are not getting their national ID card. Even when they provide themselves to the place to say, register me. Even when I got my own expired, I went in for renewal. As I speak, I don't have it. So it is not that the people or our students do not present themselves to be registered. It is not that Nigerians do not want to be identified as Nigerians. But the problem is that there's something wrong with the system. And that is why what we have to investigate, the relevant agents, committee of this house must call these people and investigate why, as we speak, that people do not have their national identification card. And if that is done, maybe we can say, okay, by the end of this year, everybody should have had it, so that by next year, 2021, people will be required to present their national ID card for registration and for other things. But for us to come and sit down and we leave these people not to do their jobs, people who are given responsibility are not being responsible to the job they've given them, and they've not approached the parliament to say, these are the issues they have. In this particular house, we sponsored a motion about people registering birth and death. And people are coming to say, oh no, they are charging them money, they are not charging them money. A lot of things are being distorted in the system. And so I believe that the parliament, for once, should rise up to say, people who are given responsibility must live up to expectation to deliver on this responsibility. So I support this motion, but with the caveat that the House Committee that is in charge of national ID cards, whatever, should invite them to find out why they have not been able to register Nigerians. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody want to speak against? Honorable Bonta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Uzoma Nkima Bonta is my name, Mr. Speaker. I'm from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, please permit me to speak against the spirit and intent of this motion for a simple reason on the nature of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, I listened attentively to the mover of the motion, and I'm mindful of the reasons he gave, and I'm going to speak against the motion based on those reasons. Mr. Speaker, the primary aim of national identity card or number is an exclusive proof of your citizenship. The primary aim, the primary aim is conclusive proof of your citizenship. Mr. Speaker, you are aware of the purification of Nigerians' passports. We are being told that non-Nigerians obtain Nigerian passport with ease. Mr. Speaker, I'm also inclined with the argument of my leader, Honorable Kiro, that we should even investigate. To me, this motion is a misplaced aggression. PTDI, or the call, is different from JAM. JAM, they are calling you, come and write, come and spend their money. The other agency is coming, come and take money, go to school, and mainly abroad. They need to be careful that only Nigerians get that. We need to find out what ills they intend to cure by that ban before we can even say ban. Mr. Speaker, we know that those responsible for the cards have not been doing their best. We've been providing funds. What is the problem? If INEC could print voters' card, why can they not print that? I also know that right now they've replaced, once you go there, they give you a number and a slip, and that suffices for what they're doing. Asking us to ban that restriction now is to open the floodgate for Nigeria child to get the scholarship from them. They may have their own reason to say, if you don't have this, we're not going to give you this. Mr. Speaker, the greatest challenge we have now is knowing who is a Nigerian, even in Nigeria. That's the greatest challenge. So there must be some wisdom why they put that ban. It is really speculated that in the next 5 years, more than 20 million persons will enter Nigeria. Now we are practicing free visa upon entry. And now you are telling us that we should not use national ID card. We gathered here to talk about security, about service chiefs, and we're now removing restrictions to check this. Who can be blowing hot and cold? Who must mean business? ID card is to check who enters, who is a Nigerian. Where do you go to? Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I should think that we should even drop this motion and interface with them to find out their reason, the motive, why they are doing this. For us to be this, Nigerians will not suffer. The youth will not suffer if no scholarship is given for 1 year. Mr. Speaker, I don't know if you have my attention. If Nigeria did not give scholarship for 1 year, Nigeria will not collapse. But if unauthorized persons will invade Nigeria, we will collapse. We should weigh the options and see it. Mr. Speaker, it is proper for one innocent, 100 criminals to escape than one innocent person to suffer. So we can't just come here and then place a blanket order. We must interface with them, investigate and see. Why we also go to the people responsible for issuing of ID card, say what is the delay? ID card is a right. National address is a right. It's not a privilege. It should be given to every Nigerian. Scholarship is a privilege. It's not a right. Therefore, suspending and still maintaining a scholarship is a privilege. It's not a right. Therefore, we should go to those who are involved with ID card and say, can you talk to us? And we look at the other PTV and say, why are you stopping this? Because if they grant this thing to people who are not Nigerians again now, we will turn around and begin to blame them. On that basis, Mr. Speaker, I'm of the view that we should, rather than suspend this, seek to investigate what the reasons are, why this is going on. I still believe and strongly believe that one session's non-scholarship will not ruin Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Against, Honorable Toby.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Toby Okechukwu and I represent an area of Woji River Federal Constituency from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, any country, any nation that has no identity in terms of its citizens and has no address is just available for anything. If an individual in a country has no identity and you have no address, it's a huge problem. Mr. Speaker, this motion is very important, but we might just be attacking the straw man. The responsibility of registering Nigerians belongs to that of National Identity Management Agency. And the reason we will ask is, we have the BVN, we have the voters card, and we have a multiplicity of methods of identification. And we just have a couple of people who are going to earn scholarship. And we also have Nigerians who are going to take WAEC. The important thing is, what is the burden? Why are we making it impossible for them to access national identification? Somebody is not doing his job. And we must have to investigate why somebody is not doing his job, Mr. Speaker. We have about 80 million registered voters, and we are talking about a couple of millions that will take WAEC. Why is it possible to create a special purpose channel for young people to register their names, even if it's a temporary identification? We want to know who are the beneficiaries of our Commonwealth. Very important. And there must be an end to every litigation. How come that in perpetuity, for decades, we'll be trying to register Nigerians? 200 million people. There are people who have their registration just by birth. Why is it difficult to do that registration? We have these things in local governments. Is it because it is not operating there? If it is impossible, let the NMC, Identity Management Agency, let them go to schools. Mr. Speaker, they can take this infrastructure to schools. They are going to be taking the work in the next 4 months. If it becomes a condition precedent for people to write work, Mr. Speaker, the locus of registration of citizens has to change. To enable young people to go there and register. To enable young people to have it in their schools. During the voters' registration, Mr. Speaker, they were going to schools, they were going to communities. Such a Marshall Plan could be done for this. But to think that in this present age, that we will not know who is writing WAEC, the identity of who is parading our streets, the identity of who is going to benefit from scholarship, is not known to any country that is civilized. So, Mr. Speaker, whereas the intent of the motion is correct, I believe that we will ask the committee that oversights this, that they should investigate why it will be impossible for Nigerian citizens to obtain citizenship registration. I'll report back to the House in the next 2 weeks. Based on that, we have a knowledge-based decision on this. But suspending so moto without this information will be very, very untidy. We need to compel them. There must have to be a benchmark which the agency registering has to meet, and then our citizens in schools have to be available. So I will suggest, and I will support, I be against this motion in terms of saying that people should be allowed to go and write WAEC without identification, national ID card. We must compel or benefit from a scholarship. We must compel the agency to go and get them registered. They should publish where they are going to do that, either in schools or in any particular place. If within a time limit they are not able to get registered, then they should forfeit it, because registration is not rocket science. Temporary ID with their numbers is sufficient. So I will I will suggest that we amend it to say, let the committee investigate it and get back to us so that we have a knowledge-based decision. Thank you very much.
Okay, the last speaker, Honorable Kuya.
Mr. Speaker, My name remains Ademori Aliukuye. I represent the good people of Shomolu Federal Constituency. I am from Lagos State, sir. Mr. Speaker, I stand here to align myself with the Deputy Minority Leader to say that the motion before the House be stepped down or be looked at critically on the need for Nigerians to have national ID card and make it compulsory too, sir, for any agency to have any business to do with anybody from this time forward. Mr. Speaker, sir, a country that cannot sufficiently man its border, like ours, the borders are open, they are everywhere, we are surrounded by so many countries that needs to do one or two things in the country. And when they come in here, they find the place comfortable and they settle down and they don't go back. That kind of country must find other means, sir, to secure its own territorial integrity and sovereignty. And the only way you can do that is by identifying your own people, your own citizens. That can only be done through the national ID card. Mr. Speaker, a people that finds even the civic responsibility of registering to vote for the people that will represent them, they find it difficult to do, sir. Most of the time, it is on the day that they said they are going to close registration. That's when you find our people rushing out. And then we begin to ask for extension. If we tell National ID Card Commission to extend it till the end of this year, our people will not come out until 25th of December to go and register. There is a report, sir, that I want this House to look at, and that's the report that came from that commission after the compulsory requirement by JAM. Mr. Speaker, sir, the number of Nigerians registered within that space of time was more than the total number of Nigerians that were registered since the commencement. And immediately, JAM rescinded that decision in compliance with the resolution of this House. Registration stopped. Nobody went there again. Go to their offices and go and look at it. Nobody is there again. Mr. Speaker, sir, like my colleague and my leader said here, scholarship is a privilege. It is not a right. And if you want to enjoy that privilege, you must show to the government or the agency that is going to offer that privilege to you that you are actually entitled to it. In fact, no Nigerian should be allowed to contest without having a national ID card. It should be part of the requirement to contest. Because you see, all over the place, Nigerians, Sudanese, Malians, there was a time Nigeria was so preoccupied with Ghanaians. Now they are able to settle their economy. They are not allowing Nigerians to come into their country area. You can't go into Ghana area. Republic of Benin, as much of the benefits they get from Nigeria, you can't just enter that place anyhow. You identify. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to plead with this House to insist that all agencies going forward, before doing any transaction with anybody, must demand national ID card. unless our people are compelled to do that, they won't register. I so move. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndudi Godwin Elumelu, and I represent the good people of Anyocho Shimini Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I think we are mixing up the issue. Nobody is saying that we should not make national ID card compulsory. It is not in contention, and nobody is fighting it. We are saying that there is a process in play that has a time lag, and that is PTDF registering our people to have access to services that they are rendering, and it's timed. Within the time, which is 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks, where they have recommended that our people must have NIMS number, that PTDF should, as a matter of urgency, suspend that provision. Not saying that we should not have national identity card. And I'm talking to you from my own experience. Even here, where we have national identity card center, I have gone there for over 2 months. I have not received. This one was even a renewal, not even a fresh one. So what we're saying is, in the meantime, to allow our people, our constituents, and all of us here have our constituents who are desirous of accessing PTDF, and they have not been opportune to have access to go to get registered. That PTDF, as a matter of urgency, kindly suspend that provision to enable these people register. Afterwards, they can now register and report back. And in any case, we have BVN. There is nobody who has an account that does not have BVN. So they should improvise and provide another sources of identifying them for the purpose of them registering within this timeline that has been provided. I think, Mr. Speaker, this is what the motion is saying. It's not saying that ID card should not be made compulsory. I so submit.
Thank you. How do you deal with the concern of Honorable Abonta and the others about non-Nigerians registering and collecting scholarship as Nigerians, thereby depriving genuine Nigerians of the Commonwealth? Honorable Abonta, is it not possible to satisfy both sides, that you allow these people to register, and then it is now incumbent upon, at least for now shift the burden of proof to the agency to verify and investigate those who have applied to see that they are Nigerians. That way, you are not depriving people of their benefit, and you are also sifting the possible non-Nigerians from qualification. In other words, you are just basically shifting the burden of proof to the agency. I'm thinking out loud. I don't know if Honorable Ibakwa has let me give him a right of reply. Maybe he can address that. I think it's only one singular issue that is in contention now. What's your point about that?
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I am Honorable Chinedu Benjamin Obidigwe, Anambra East and West Federal Constituency, Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, my point of order is Order 8-5. Personal explanation, Mr. Speaker, in view of the very ongoing argument on this very motion of national ID card, Mr. Speaker. One, this very motion supposed not even to arise in this floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, you cannot do anything in most of the foreign countries without your social security number. That's PD.
Well, you want to contribute to the debate? I've been in this house for going on to 20 years. I've never seen this kind of ingenuity before, and creativity in contributing to debate. Your point of order, whatever it is noted. Honorable Ibakwa, you want to right of reply?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
My wonderful colleagues, first I want to adopt the submission of the minority leader wholeheartedly. And on the issue of people referring to the United States of America as a model, the social security number is given to a child from birth. And here we are talking about a national identity card that should start from 18. It shows we are not even ready in the first place. Because if you succeed in taking the 18 and above, what happened to the ones that are coming behind? How many of that persons form part of the 180 million Nigerians? That is one. Then two, Mr. Speaker, it is a right. The ID card is a right. The scholarship is a privilege. But when we talk about our commonwealth, I think it's a right for every Nigerian to enjoy our commonwealth and not be different. And again, this so-called national identity card do expire, Mr. Speaker. It expires. I got my own some days ago, and it's already about 6 months to go. What is going to happen if I decide to apply tomorrow for another national requirement? And again, Mr. Speaker, I think it is good for us to know here that I am not saying that we should suspend the issuance of the national identity card number. What we are saying, like what the minority has said, is that the process should be ongoing, but it should not be a precondition for any Nigerian, for any of our brothers and our sisters to enjoy the commonwealth of our nation. We know that there's a letter we call that emanates from community. We have a local government identification process in Nigeria. If we are fair and we are honest, everybody is from a local government, everybody is from a community. And those communities are part of the requirement that PTDF is asking for. And that should actually help part of it. Then again, Mr. Speaker, we have various types of ID card. What happened to our voters card? Are you agreeing that it's foreigners that voted for us? What happened to our driver's license? Are you agreeing that without somebody, because for you to obtain a driver's license outside the country, in the church that they are referring to, Mr. Speaker, you must be a legal resident. You can't just come and get a driver's license. You can't do it in England, you can't do it in the US. Today we are practicing the American style of democracy. And that is what is applicable. So if anybody is having a driver's license in Nigeria, the person is already either naturalized or is a legal resident in Nigeria. So, Mr. Speaker, I am not saying that we should suspend the issuance of the number, but that it should be suspended. It should not be used as a precondition to give services to our people, because that will not be good. It will not be good for Nigeria. We need to grow our people. We just listened to what do you call it? A talk just now from Marcus Marco about developing human capital development. And this is one of the issues. Our graduates want to go abroad and learn. Yesterday here, my brother from Okwe brought an amendment to the full pay law so that we can start training our people internally. These are things that we should support. I don't see anything there. Mr. Speaker, it's so easy that nobody is stopping the name. I'm in agreement to it. But again, let us use other form of identity that we have. Our international passport is still our great passport. Proud one for that matter. We have our voters card. We have our letters from our communities. So we have so many forms of identity card. Why should it be need that is so difficult to get? If you want your passport today, Mr. Speaker, you can get your passport today. If you want your driver's license, that is the one that will take another forever. Only God knows when it will come. Your voter's card, you can get the slip just now. So why don't we use what we have so that our people can enjoy the benefit of a government? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I think the issue is very narrow. I think what we need to look at is if it is the fault of an applicant that he does not have ID card because he did not go and apply or he did not do what he was supposed to do, then of course the position of Honorable Kuye and those who are speaking against will hold. But if it is the fault of government or bureaucracy that is virtually almost impossible to get a card, I don't think we should visit that sin on the citizen. That's what we need to consider. Whose fault is it? Wherein lies the fault? So I think we should take a cue from what the minority leader said. His own personal experience as minority leader in the National Assembly and the difficulty he went through in collecting, he hasn't even renewed it. He hasn't been able to renew his ID card. So I think we can balance these equities. We'll just put the, well, but who am I? I'm just a presiding officer. I have no vote. Those who support, please. Well, we have amendments. Amendment, have you? And that's an amendment. That's an amendment. So, Honorable Luke, what's your amendment?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Luke, I represent the people of Etinan, Nsribom, Surubium, Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, at the very foundation of this challenge is the issue of an integrated identity system. Now, every of the agencies that are tasked with the responsibility of doing one registration or the other are operating in isolation. Mr. Speaker, let me draw an analogy from the telecommunications sector. Portability, number portability was not visible at the beginning of telecommunications industry in Nigeria until we had connectivity. So my suggestion is that government should put in place an integrated program for all the agencies responsible with the collection of data. For example, Mr. Speaker, we've talked about the National Identity Card on NIMC. Then we've had the Immigration Service collecting data for passport. And then we have the Federal Safety collecting data for driver's license. And then we have Independent National Electoral Commission collecting data for voters' card. If there had been a point of exchange of this information, this data being collected, each and every of these agencies could have been a basis of sending a point of identification to whosoever is in need of a means of identification from Nigeria. So my own amendment, which is like a new prayer, is that the federal government should put in place a structure and a program to make for an integrated identity system. At the core, to Mr. Speaker, at the core of the immigrant visa ban by United States is this issue of identification. And the earlier...
We've got your amendment. You are debating.
I am basking in the euphoria of your success in one of your legislative agenda by launching the Green Chambers today. So that is why I'm taking...
Yes, thank you very much. So your amendment is actually in line with what I said. So you are actually blaming the federal government. You are blaming the federal government. So any second, you are not seconding. Honorable Cook. My name remains Olododo Cook S. Abdulgadim, representing Ilori East, Ilori South Vera constituency. Sir, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I second the amendment raised by my friend, my brother, Honorable Luke, as a second. Those in support, let me get your amendment right, that the federal government should integrate and synchronize all the agencies to do with the management, right? Integrate, yeah. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Toby Okechukwu, your amendment, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues. My amendment is to the effect that the PTDF should use the national ID card or other forms of recognized identification for the registration of students for scholarship. I so move.
Honorable, you want a second? Go ahead.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I am Jimo Kalaifa, representing Ebado North Imekwa from Federal Constituency. I am from Ogun State. I rise to second the motion as an amendment made by the Honorable Member Toby Okechukwu. I so second.
Honorable Toby, did you say all other identification or recognized identification. All other forms? DS.
It's amendment, but I think it's a very dangerous amendment. Dangerous in the sense that, Mr. Speaker, if you are talking about international passport now, a Nigerian cannot obtain the minimum cost of less than 20,000 naira. That is the official price. And for us now as parliamentarians, when the economy dealt with the country, to say our words must go through that process. The other one could be driving license. You cannot obtain driving license if you are not matured by at the age of 10. So as for the moment, I think the path we are going to suspend a little bit to leave is the best. Any other introduction will mean now defeating the essence of the motion. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Toby.
Well, I think the Deputy Speaker has adduced some good reasons, but I wouldn't subscribe to the idea that it's dangerous. It's not carrying arms. It's not Boko Haram, so it's not carrying arms. But based on the reason of age and the idea of getting to age of majority prior to some of these people are also already wire graduates and all that, and they are eligible for application. I will step down the amendment.
Honorable, do you want to withdraw your second? Your seconding, or is that automatic too?
Well,
you want to stand on your own? Amendment withdrawn. Honorable Benjamin.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Benjamin Bem Zondo. I speak for the people of Makudi Guma. We are from Benue State. I also give voice to the teeming unemployed youth in this hallowed chamber. My amendment is to further put light on what the motion has brought forward. We shouldn't be misunderstood that we are speaking against the national ID card. That document is a very, very important document in the life of our nation. But while government is not yet ready with that document, we have other means of identification. One of the major means of identification even we use is that of the local government indigenship certificate. My amendment is that where there is no NIN number, the local government indigenship certificate should suffice. That is my amendment. I so move.
Any second up? Okay, your neighbor can second.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am Honorable Balare Bishop Kakali, representing Donge Shunibodenga Traitor. I am from Sokoto, Birnin Shehu. I address in green, sir, to also back today in the glory and the success, continual success of the launching of the Green Chamber magazine from Nigeria to Kenya. Congratulations, this great house. Congratulations, Mr. Speaker. I am seconding the motion that the indigenous certificate offered by a local government can be used for the interim, for the PTTF scholarship, while the sanctity or the usefulness of the national ID card should still continue. Because currently, Mr. Speaker, as we know, NIMSI has failed the stress test put to it by JAM and probably is in coma in the ICU and need urgent rehabilitation. Thank you.
So this amendment is in line with Honorable Toby's amendment. The difference is that it is being restricted to the local government certificate. So what you are offering is an alternative. So we're not scrapping the NIM, but we're providing an alternative. That's the amendment. Okay. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Kiruka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My own is an additional prayer. Mandate the House Committees on Population to invite the National to investigate the National National Identity Management Commission to find out why I missed it. Mandate the House Committee on Population to investigate why the National Management ID Card Committee has not been able to register Nigeria. I'm calling for investigation in the House Committee on Population Commission.
Sorry, the Deputy Speaker distracted me. What's your amendment again?
My amendment is to mandate the Committee on Population Commission, Population Committee, to investigate why Nigerians are not accessing national ID card and report back within 2 weeks.
Honorable Sir.
And a fourth term for that matter. I rise, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, to second the most beautiful amendment that has ever been made also in this green chamber. I say second.
Those in favor of Honorable Kiruka's motion, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. With regards to this motion that was moved today, it's a brilliant motion because there are other forms of ID that can be used. My concern is Nigerians in diaspora. Nigerians in diaspora have been unable to get their NIN number in multitudes because they are being charged a fee to do it. They are being charged a fee to register as Nigerians. They are being charged a fee to get the card. The ones that have registered have not received the card to date, and many have been registering. Also, there's implication of a national security issue because NIMC is using private companies all over the world to gather information on Nigerians. Therefore, my motion is that Nigerians in diaspora are being prevented in benefiting from opportunities at home because they do not have access to this number. And therefore, it is important that we take cognizance of them in whatever decision we make. Therefore, my prayer is that NIMC, my amendment basically is that NIMC is prevailed upon to get the system of these NI numbers right, to stop precluding Nigerians from benefiting from opportunities like the PTDF scholarship.
Interesting angle. Any second? Yes.
One thing that his motion is good, but one, he has not also protected those of them abroad. Because if you are to protect them, you must say probably you use the international passport of Nigeria. Nigerian international passport should be used by those abroad to access the same program. That's what his motion is missing.
I think it can be presumed that under the constitution, a Nigerian is a Nigerian wherever he or she lives. And the provision of the constitution also prohibits discrimination. So I think it's taken that diasporas are included as Nigerians as long as they can identify themselves as such.
one has not been defined. So it has to be defined the way that one is defined. I think it's better you define it.
Yes, Nigerians are being discriminated against when the requirement is a national identity number and they are unable to get the national identity number.
That's why we have changed that now to an alternative. They can still get the letter from their local government. They can still get a letter from their local government. Whenever they come home, they can get a letter from their local government. If you are unable to get a letter from your local government, you are just the Nigerian by name. And their relatives can go, however they do it, they can get a letter from their local government. I'm sure they come home. They are. Yes. So you want to second that? Okay. That's a good amendment.
I rise to second the motion as moved by my colleague. I so second as an additional prayer.
Let's just put it that diasporans be included in the definition of Nigerians. Simple. Those who support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Shadipa is fighting for her people. Honorable Mogulu.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Munguno. I represent Marte Munguno, Nganza Federal Constituency of Borno State. My own amendment is an additional prayer, especially against the backdrop of the fact that there is avalanche of requests for this national ID card to access every aspect of our national life. In view of that fact, my prayer is to the effect that it should be extended to IDPs that were displaced as a result of the Boko Haram insurgency and refugees that are staying outside Nigeria because they are now refugees in Chad, Cameroon, and Niger Republic. Because these services, I know as a matter of fact, that has not been extended to them. It should be extended to them because they are equally Nigerians.
So Honorable Mogunu's motion is that registration be extended to those in the handicaps. Honorable Elubelu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndudigodin Elubelu. Given that I followed you to that IDP in Borno State, and we saw the state of the people in that IDP, I second the motion moved that we do recognize those in ID camp to be so recognized in national identity card issue.
Thank you, Minority Leader. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. I think the last amendment, Anike is here. Umana?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Anike Umana. I represent the unique people of Abak Itimekwe Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from the vibrant state of Akwa Ibom. Mr. Speaker, at the root of this problem lies the contradiction of the institutional failures that we are experiencing in this country. And I would have proposed an amendment in a manner that suggests a full investigation into the root causes and problems of this identification system, but that has been taken to a very large extent by the Deputy Chief Whip, and having experienced it myself from 2016, Mr. Speaker, I have not been able to get the national identity card. So I want to suggest and stand by the amendment as proposed by the Deputy Chief Whip, who has taken the point I needed to make. I therefore shall be done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, so he acknowledged that the Deputy Chief Whip has already moved the amendment. I guess it's just emphasizing it. So you are not moving an amendment because it's already been taken. Yeah. So, but you are identifying with it. Yeah. So we've already put the question to that. It's probably the most important amendment here to investigate, and that's the Committee on Population. Okay. So, I'll put a question. Those in favor of the motion as amended, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Osasa, I know you've been waiting patiently. I think we're going to have to adjourn the House till tomorrow. We'll take your motion tomorrow morning. Yes. Point of order. Honorable Luke, you are in top gear today. What's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, Onofio Luke, I speak for 18 and Sri Bomsurubium Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, based on my discussion with you as at last week and the promise you gave me for Wednesday, I come under order 8 rule 4, sir, on a matter of urgent public importance, sir.
Okay, the promise as you put it has been overtaken by events, and therefore it will fall under the same fate as Honorable Osai's promise that I promised you. But don't worry, we'll take it. It's a very important motion that you had, I remember. We'll take it. Chairman, Business and Rules.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Abubakar Sanflata. I represent Berniwa, Krika Sama, Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker, from the Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, due to time constraints and a lengthy order paper, I move that, Mr. Speaker, we suspend consideration of items number 1 to 15 on the order paper till tomorrow. As so move, sir. No, where will it?
You step down all the items, right? Okay. Any seconder? Honorable Badru. That's the Lagos Caucus leader.
My name is Eni Todolapo Badru. I represent Lagos Island 1 Federal Constituency. I support the motion as moved to step down all the items of on the other paper as moved by Chairman Rules of Business. I so second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it. Chairman, Business, can you move for adjournment, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Abubakar Sanflata. I represent Berniwa, Krika Samaguri Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker, I'm from the Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, I move that House do adjourn to tomorrow, Thursday, 20th of February, 2020. I so move.
House adjourned till tomorrow, Thursday, 11 a.m. I already seconded it.